Oh, Jean, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Dawn, thank you for that beautiful meditation. And the beautiful music, Alora. And Mark, your contribution with your reading. Good morning. Is my mic on? Yeah, okay. I'm not getting the usual surround sound. So I wanted to make sure. I'm talking about our spiritual center, our spiritual home here. And as I thought about what to title this, I realized that you might get different answers about what is interfaith all about, or how did it begin, or how, what are our beliefs, etc. You might get different answers depending on who you ask, because we all come together with different experiences, with different expectations, with just different thoughts about what it is we are and what we're doing here. And so that's why I'm calling it one perspective. I realize I'm looking at it from one little facet of the diamond that we are all looking at. And ultimately, obviously, I love this center. I've been a part of the center since the beginning. And I am just incredibly grateful that this place exists and that it continues to exist, and that I've been part of it all this time. It's fitting, too, that I speak about this today, because this is actually our 24th birthday. We celebrated on the 30th. Our very first birthday party was on January 30th, 1999. So we started in January 1998. And I was 45 years old then. And I had a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old at home. And, we were all younger then. And that's really hard to fathom. But when you think about 24 years, that is a very large chunk of one's life. And so many things have happened for all of us over those years. And so I looked back. What I want to talk about is, what are our beliefs, our core values, what are our teachings, what was our governance structure that we set up at the beginning, and the involvement of, I'm going to call the beloved community members, because this center was created from the very beginning with the notion that we will gather together and co-create what it is we want this center to be. And I believe that's still very active and alive and well in our community, and it's certainly still what we strive for. And we believe that everyone has wisdom within them. Every one of us is a teacher. And so we didn't want the hierarchy of, daddy minister going to tell us what we need to believe. Now, most of us probably grew up with that kind of structure. And God bless Dave Bell. I don't know if you're on today, Dave. I think I saw Judy's iPad sign on. But people wanted to make him that daddy figure. And if he didn't live up to that figure, maybe they were disgruntled. Other people did not want him to be that daddy figure, and if they thought he was being that daddy figure, they were disgruntled. So, it wasn't always easy to create this new spiritual center without a guidebook. Nobody had done it as far as we knew before, and here we were, like we were all like striking out with curiosity and excitement to create something brand new, something where we would have the freedom to study and practice spiritual teachings, spiritual techniques that we wanted to, that weren't dictated by a particular religion that said, here's how we do it, here's what we read on Sunday, here's what our topics are on Sunday. We just wanted more freedom to explore and more freedom to celebrate. From the beginning, we called it our Sunday celebration service because we were gathering to celebrate. Now, when we first began meeting, we were renting a school building, and we just met on Sunday mornings. Anything that we did outside of that was at somebody's house or, in a park, or we rented another facility if we needed a large space. And from the beginning, we were hoping for, desiring a physical structure that could be a permanent home for us. But we started out with about 35 people. And, over the earlier years, people came and left, but, we didn't have a huge body with lots of money, We were just kind of going along, kind of on a shoestring for quite a while. But we wanted our own home. This building came about in 2007, and that brought about a whole new level of excitement and curiosity and creativity, because now we had the opportunity to do stuff 24/7 if we wanted. Literally 24/7, 24 hours in a day when Craig did his peace generator. And to be able to be like a hub that could attract other organizations, to be able to either rent space out to other groups, to hold workshops and concerts. It's when our Cafe 704 began. So it was really a time of great excitement when we had our own building. But, along the way, there's been a lot of bumps in the road. It hasn't always been super rosy as far as if you want to look at everybody's happiness meter. People come and go. And I had this image of, remember when we were kids, they had those things at the playground that were round with like little bars, and it would go around and around in a circle. I don't know what it was called, but you would jump on and, spin with the group, and then when you got tired, you would jump off, but the thing would keep moving. And I sort of feel like that's how our center is, like we've just kept moving, and some people have jumped off, and sometimes it's been really crowded, and then other people jump on and jump off, and people come and go, or they come back in, And so it's been a moving, evolving kind of process over these 24 years. As was witnessed today, we had Mark do the reading, we had Dawn do the meditation, we have guest musicians that come in, and speakers, are now rotating. In the early days, Dave gave most of the talks. And, first it was like all of them. And then early on, I looked through the newsletter of the first 2 years. And early on, there was a group that said, hey, we want at least one Sunday a month to be an alternate service presented by a community member if they desire, And so, in 1999, we were already starting to have an alternate service might be it was just meditation or chanting, or it was something about, earth-based religions, or, just, sort of a gathering. We were big on circles, and early on, we actually, we wanted always to sit in a circle, a complete circle. And so Dave went along with it. Okay, so he would be in the middle of the circle, and I remember him. He was doing it for I don't know how many weeks, and he said, I like the circle idea, but I don't like having my back to, and having to turn constantly and have my back to people when I'm turned that way, and it's just not that comfortable. So we came with the the horseshoe shape kind of thing, and then or like a half circle, as time went by. But so the circle was one motif that sort of was there for our gatherings. When we had meetings, we always did have a circle, and there was not somebody in the middle. And we try to still do that for our QCCs. the use of the talking stick, was really important to us then and still is. And like I said, there was no template of how you do this. And I'm not even sure where some of these, obviously these ideas came from the community. And when I say I'm not sure where they came from, they came from within. But, it wasn't like we said one day, let's start a spiritual center and here's what we're going to do, list. It evolved, at the beginning it seemed like things, were in place pretty quickly, and we're going pretty well. So I want to go back a little bit to, how we started was Dave Bell. Dave Bell was a Unity licensed teacher at Unity of Ann Arbor. Most of us who are founders here were members of that community. And he wanted to become a minister. And so he was thinking of becoming a Unity minister, obviously, because that's the track he'd been on. And, various things happened that we don't need to go in right now, but that wasn't going to work. And so he, in the meantime, came across this new seminary in New York, which was ordaining people as interfaith ministers. And so he went out to New York. He was able to do it remotely most of the time, but, got involved with that because of his previous training and history in the ministry. He was on the fast track, and in a year he became ordained through the new seminary of New York. And that's when we started. And like I said, we had, schools at first. Dave did everything. Some people say I do everything. Now Dave did everything. From getting to the school early and pulling the chairs out of a closet, to making sure the coffee was there. And, and then Esther's been with us, and she was our chief coffee maker, bottle washer, and provided the refreshments for us at those Sunday meetings. And Dave was the CEO of the organization, and our board was based on the Carver model of policy governance, in which the board is meant to be more of a visioning board that sets policy, sets the parameters for ensuring that the goals of the organization are met, that the duties are carried out appropriately within the parameters of the policy. And early board meetings often involved like 30 minutes of sitting together in meditation, visioning, what comes through, if you want to call it spirit, what comes through just being silent and waiting for some visions, some ideas. And then we'd share those visions and then proceed with some of the details of an agenda and that kind of thing. Our boards have, it's been 24 years. We've had lots of different people rotate through our board positions, and we've had challenges along the way, of course, of creating all the policies that are needed. And as we've grown, new issues came up. As we had a building, new issues came up. So there's been evolution with the board as well. And then I want to speak, I'm kind of going circular here, but the importance of the community involvement, I can't emphasize that enough. And as I looked through our 2 years of, the first 2 years of newsletters, it was just interesting how many people, and I want to interject, so thankful for the newsletter people. Joy, I thought Joy might be here today, but I don't know if she's probably not going to hear this, but Joy was an incredible mover and shaker in our early years, and up until very recently. She was very active, and she thought it was very important to acknowledge who's in the community, and her idea was to create this part in the newsletter that was like meet so-and-so, and there would be an interview with, you know, whoever she could nab to tell them about themselves. But like, how wonderful. You know, we've got all these newsletters in a drawer upstairs in notebooks, and it's just wonderful to go back and see all the people that have come through. Many of them are still here, and many of them are not. And anyway, it's just wonderful to have that archive available, and the reminder how important all of us are. You know, each one of us is the community, each one of us. And we really then and now encourage people to get involved, to, you know, just, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like a committee, but you know, anytime there's an event, like, come to it, you know, get involved. You know, if you're on Zoom, show your picture. Here's an aside. I know we've said recently there's this thing that flashes on the screen on Zoom that this is now being recorded. What is being recorded is on, right now, Craig's computer, right? He is on speaker view. So all your faces are not going to be on the recording. Only the key speakers are going to be on the recording. Every now and then there's a little glimpse of the Zoom screen. So I don't want you to turn your cameras off because you think you're on a recording somewhere and you don't want to be out there, you know, in the ethers with your face. So that, and by, with each other, as you're looking at each other on Zoom, or as Facebook people are looking, well, they're not looking at you. All they see is the speaker view. But as you're looking at each other, as we're looking at our television and seeing the television here with the Zoom people, it's really nice to see faces and not just a black square with a name on it. You know, so just wanted to add that. I meant to say that during announcement time. But you know, the importance of everybody being involved, the importance of you offering to do a meditation or a reading. You know, Anne Marie invites people every month to sign up, and you know, sometimes we're down to the wire and it's kind of hard because people aren't coming forth. Hearing the voices of everyone is what is the lifeblood of this community. Hearing different perspectives. I mean, people do readings that, you know, can be very enlightening. Like, you know, it's not something I would have picked up, but wow, that was really interesting to hear about that. You know, even if it's just the one time, or it might trigger, you know, a search into that path, you know, in more depth. So we want everybody to be involved if they want to be involved. You know, Dave's theory was, you say yes. You say yes. If people say, can I do such and so? The answer is yes. If it doesn't fly, well, there wasn't energy around it. You know, it was just a random idea that, you know, just didn't fly, and that's okay, but we want to try. And when there is energy behind it, it flows, and it's delightful, and it lasts. And you know, things keep going. So we've had A Course in Miracles meetings from the very beginning, and they continue. You know, we have 2 a week now, one on Monday night that Dave leads, and one on Thursday that Randall and Linda Donahue. Linda McDonough. I don't know. Linda and Randall are facilitating that group. So, you know, and we still have Science of Mind, you know, thanks to Janet joining us, and Ray, you know, being sort of the stalwart for that too. And so that group is meeting. We still have an Eckhart Tolle group that meets on Tuesday mornings, and they actually meet here in person. It's a small group, about 3 to 5 people, but that was started a long time ago by, I'm picturing her, help me, Annie, No. Oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, a member who, and then she was, I mean, she did it for years, and turns out just someone in the group said, okay, I'll take over, and so the group still goes, and, that's great. And over the years, there have been just many, many, many workshops and classes. When Dave came back from New York as an ordained interfaith minister, he shared with our community the program. Many of our members became interfaith ministers. They went to New York, signed up. Annie is one of them. She became ordained through One Spirit, which was a splinter off of the new seminary, and and there were many others. And Dave also brought a training program back to us that was based on what they were doing at the new seminary for spiritual practitioners. And so that first, in 1999, it was we started having the spiritual practitioner curriculum, which was a 2-year plan with weekly classes, and the classes were open to anybody, whether you wanted to become a spiritual practitioner or not. And, it was just wonderful. We studied world religions and the science of mind and new thought theory and history and just a number of things. So teaching classes has been a pretty predominant theme here, too. And so we kind of, Alora. Do you all know that Alora has been here since June of 1999? Yeah, I mean, and when you were playing the song this morning as I came in, The Pool of Love, Alora picks the songs every week, and writes them often, and they're based on whatever we think the topic's going to end up being, And when I walked in, I just thought, there are so many people that have been an influence in the creation of this center. Alora has been a tremendous influence in not such an obvious way. Alora has really provided this backdrop for us with this wonderful music, wonderful, heartfelt, loving, ever-changing, ever-evolving sort of music. And I mean, you've been here like all but 1 year from the beginning, and that's no small thing, and that's no small effect for what you've done. And thank you. So if we kind of circling back to what do we believe? Every Sunday we start our service with an invocation and with a welcome and a little statement about who we are. And, we rotate that between Liriel and Janet and Annie and Dave and I. And we all say it a little bit different. It's not a script. We say it in a way that is meaningful from our hearts. And, it's got something to do with healing. Annie always talks about healing. We're a healing center, and we're here to heal one another, to heal ourselves. Liriel talks about, the fact that we're a spiritual center, and not a church, that we're a spiritual center, and that we're well, you talk about the no rules, and just a number of sort of different kinds of words. And I know you change them every time you speak, and it's very fitting and very lovely. And Janet, I loved what you said today about claiming this as your home. That you haven't been here the whole 24 years, but it's home, and you will claim our longevity and our history, and I think that's great. And I think there's a whole number of other people that are in that same pattern, of just You walk in the door, you're welcome, and you're loved. And, it's a wonderful place to be, to explore, and to be on the journey. And I often talk about, we're on this journey together. We're here to support one another. We're here to love one another. We're here to remember what love is and who we are, that we are love. So, that's the teaching of all religions. There might be different ways of saying it, but ultimately it's about loving whatever the word for creator is in your mind, what feels comfortable for you, whether it's God or Great Spirit or, divine presence or Allah, that which we are, which is not easily understood, if understood ever. There's something mystical, mysterious, unspeakable. The Buddhists would call the ground of being, the pure essence, pure oneness. So those were our beliefs. Again, it wasn't like one book that said this. It was just a sense that that's what's important. That we are spiritual beings, that we are divine, that we are love, and that we, as we join together, we want to celebrate that and practice it and remember it and remind each other. And I lost my thought. There was something that was really important that I wanted to say. So I don't know, it'll come back, but it's the oneness. That's what we believe, and we recognize that it can be, I remember now, achieved in many ways. The other aspect of a community like ours, I believe, and it's good to realize this, I think, is that our joining together is the practice. It's the opportunity to be in a safe container and have our inappropriate judgments and, pissy attitudes sometimes, but we are here to practice and know it's safe. I can be not perfect in my humanness, and I can have a tantrum or whatever, but I can recognize, and the beings with me recognize that inside I'm love, and I'm calling for love, that I'm having my little meltdown because I'm forgetting who I am. I'm thinking that something I think matters and that you disagree with me, that whole scenario. And so the work of the board is a great opportunity to practice that. You have meetings, you have to decide something, you have disagreements, or you have community members that want it this way and others that want it that way. And, what do we do? And we can't make everybody happy. We meditate, but ultimately we recognize that this is what we're trying to remember, that we are loving beings having to do these tasks in a world, in a form that has rules. There obviously are some rules that we have to deal with, and just jobs and things to do. And so, what a gift to have a family, a spiritual family, where we can further our growth as an individual through the spiritual practice that is shown to us, that is here. And so I think that's a wonderful thing. Like you can't go usually to the other jobs out there, where you're at a meeting and somebody's tantruming. Let's just stop a minute and take a deep breath and pray. But here you can. Let's just stop, and everybody gets it. and everybody gets to see and feel the transformation that occurs. And so it's practice, it's opportunity. Early on, there's a little statement from the board, November 1998. Our organizational structure is flat, not top-down, which creates both opportunity and responsibility. As we move forward, our collective vision is important. And this is, a statement from the board. The board is interested in what you have to say. So thoughtfully consider, what you want to share, and be responsible. Show up at the QCCs. We started them right from day one. And show up and create, continue to co-create, continue to help our community evolve, and, while maintaining the love, which has always been present and always will be, and celebrate together. It's a wonderful, wonderful community, and I could talk for hours about this, but time is up. So it's open mic time, and I'd love to hear. Anne Marie is going to monitor that on the Zoom, and if anybody here in the room would like to make comments.
Can you hear me?
Love to hear from you.